Скъпи колеги, драги ученици, драги гости, радвам се, че сте тук днес с нас на инициативата, която организирахме съвместно трите 9 класа под надслов "Почувства езика", не случайно на този прекрасен празник Благовещение. И поканихме също така да открият нашето събитие 8-те класове, за което много съм благодарна, че се отзоваха. Нека госпожа Никова да поясни с какво точно. Нещо, което те сами са
Здравейте и от мен. Благодарим много на 9-те класове, че ни поканиха. С нетърпение очакваме тяхната изява и аз имам задача да презентирам под представянето на 8-ми клас. Миналата и по-миналата седмица се готвиха много въодушевено, много всеотдайно за гостуването на Недялко Йорданов, което не успя да се случи. Но те бяха подготвили трите 8-ми класа по едно стихотворение, което с помощта на своите учители по немски, английски и испански преведоха. Сега ще имате възможност да чуете тези прекрасни стихове в тяхно изпълнение на български и на съответния чужд език. Мисля, че ще ви достави голямо удоволствие и ще поканя сега двете момичета от 8-я клас.
Романс, внезапна целувка и стъпчици плахи, за повече никакъв шанс. Пътува морето с умилан в Ибрахи, отдавна забравен романс. Ей там, върху пясъка, щупени миди, горея, соления лъх и капчици златни по влажните мигли и нежен над устните мъх. Там някъде, някога, в края на детството, а детството има ли край? И странно тържествено, женствено, девствено и песничка, моята майка.
Kleine ängstliche Schritte, keine Chance, trommelt das Meer in trägem Rhythmus, eine längst vergessene Romanze. Dort auf dem Sand zergossene Muscheln, der stürmische Nordwind, der salzige Hauch und goldene Tropfen auf feuchten Wimpern und sanfter Flaum über den Lippen. Und dort, irgendwo, irgendwann, am Ende der Kindheit, aber hat die Kindheit ein Ende und seltsam, feierlich, weiblich, unberührt und liegt in ein Liedchen meines Willens.
А сега изпълнителите от 9-ти от 8-ми клас.
Спокойствие невероятно, камбана извън като на сън. Ах, колко нежно, колко златно изгрява утрото навън. А с нощи бурята пищеше, дори морето оглуша. И тъжно беше, страшно беше на изтощената душа. Лежа и нищо не желая, въздушен като никой път. Нима съм жив или дошла е спокойната и мъдра смърт.
Che tranquillità nel de campana como el sueño. Ay, que sabe que durante sale la mañana afuera. Anoche la tempestad retumbaba hasta el mar en su techo. Triste estaba, horriblemente estaba, el alma agotada. Tumbado estoy, no quiero nada eroso como ninguna otra vez. ¿Acaso estoy vivo o acaso he llegado a la tranquila y sabia muerte?
I love you, as in a film, as in a melodrama. I love you in the cynical world. 6 billion in mid together.
I love you. What an overused phrase. I love you. What an bottomless area. I love you among so much hatred. From the sky, from the earth, from the sun, and from the bright stars.
I love you. Suddenly, impossible. For a moment. Once and many times. I love you. Enthusiastically and enormously. Thousand years.
което написах за едно състезание. То е за пестенето на енергия, на английски. Same energy. Electricity has become a part of our daily lives and is one of the most used things that most human beings cannot live without. Sadly enough, as much as it is a blessing, it can also take the role of a curse. For example, I will use the so-called smartphones. In our society, at the moment, mobile phones are an inseparable part of a human, especially for a teenager. But the lifespan of a phone is limited, so they need to be charged several times a day, 2 or 3 times, I think. That leads to a massive wastage of energy and leads to higher bills. But that is not the only thing. Lamps, televisions, computers, gaming consoles, and etc. are never plugged out of their sockets. What people don't know is that even if the electrical device isn't turned on, it still receives energy from the socket, and thus wasting precious energy from the system. In conclusion, I would like to say that I have looked into the topic very lightly and on the surface, and further investigation must be done for conserving energy. Thank you.
Ще представим едно кратко произведение на известен писател Харуки Мураками, за който аз сега, докато те се подготвят, ще ви разкажа малко повече. Харуки Мураками е роден на 12 януари 1949 година в Киото, Япония. Въпреки че е роден в Киото, прекарва по-голямата част от детството си в Осака, Кобе, съжалявам. Баща му е буддистски свещеник, майка му дъщеря на търговец от Осака. И двамата са преподаватели по японска литература, но Мураками винаги е обичал и се интересува повече от американската литература. И показател за това е западният му стил на писаност. Отличаващ го на фона на основните японски литературни течения.
Sometimes I meet a person who says, I've had so many interesting experiences that I can write lots of books about them. I think I've heard quite a few people say the same thing, especially since I came here. This doesn't mean that Americans say such thing, but that many Japanese living in America often do. What they say might be probably true because it's quite challenging to live away from their home country, and they must have encountered various kinds of exciting happenings in this country. It's quite natural that they should have a strong wish to tell them to someone else.
Of course, I don't know if they're really going to write their own novels someday, but I can only say this after all. Despite the background as a writer who has written quite a number of novels so far, I've almost never had any truly exciting incidents in my private life. No doubt, I might have had something exciting as a person living more than 40 years, such as meeting a strange and mysterious person, or being greatly shocked by a sudden change of destiny. Some memory, I can tell you what it is though, makes me smile. And some still make me so sore. Thrilling things once quivered me with excitement. Nevertheless, I guess you must also have gone through such things as I have experienced in my life. I've never met anyone who can be said to have experienced such an unbelievable happening as no one ever had, even in this large world. If I were quite a stranger to writing novels and asked if I can declare to people that I've got so much stuff of interesting topics for my writing, then my answer to this question will be no, definitely no. What I could do is just confess honestly that my life was somewhat interesting in its way, but not interesting enough to write a novel about it. For all this, in a very rare occasion, we stumble upon people who encountered incredible experiences in this world. I like their storytelling since a boy, and I often ask them to tell their own episode. I have no idea of using their story as a subject for my novel, but I just feel like listening to them. Various tales exist. Some of them are stunning, moving, hardly laughable, and chilling me with fear. Their narrative is sometimes so enchanting as to make me forget to go to bed. It is true that fact is stranger than fiction, but it is not always true that a person who has gone through such an excitement can write a novel as stimulating as his experience. There might be a writer like Jack London, an American novelist aged 1890, who makes up extraordinarily interesting books from his plentiful, extraordinary experiences. But judging from knowledge, such a novelist is rather exceptional.
Though this is my private opinion, people are inclined to be captured by the keen sense of helplessness while actually writing them down once they suffer overwhelming experiences. Painful is a stress when one cannot reproduce or convey vividly to others, however hard he tries, what he's experienced so intensely. In my case, the stronger is the intention to write about a particular subject in a particular way. The harder it becomes to start writing and to express myself. This stress somewhat resembles the irritation one feels when he cannot describe to another person what he experienced so vividly and realistically in his dreams. All words I use to narrate my feeling of the moment feel necessity to describe what they wish to, and then they begin to betray. To the contrary, there are some people, despite their lack of experiences, who can find out something funny and something beautiful in a trivial incident from their unique viewpoint, which is quite different from that of others. They can recreate their findings into a different form and tell other people more comprehensively about them. These people were standing much closer to novelists.
Anyway, I have no experience in my life which is really worth telling you. I can understand why John Irving said something to the effect that if I write my books based on my personal experiences, my readers will probably fall asleep after the first 20 pages. In my case, less than 20 pages. It is generally believed that writers create their works under the influence of various real experiences, though. For instance, when I published my first novel, my quantities around me suddenly started to become restless and nervous. They began to keep a distance from me, though we had been enjoying a casual relationship until that time. At first, I couldn't make out why, but after talking to them, I noticed that they gave me the cold shoulder to me for fear that I might use them as the models for my next book. We've been getting along with one another since they found out that I have no intention to write such kind of novels.
Since I came to the States,
I visited lots of universities and talked with many American students. I've talked publicly before a large audience too, but I feel more comfortable when speaking face-to-face in a small class, using my own words and following my own casual style. Sometimes after class, all of us went to a pub and enjoyed an open and frank conversation over a glass of beer. In such an atmosphere, there is no difference between American and Japanese students. Students who assumed an affected attitude in the presence of a teacher during the session now get relaxed and recover the childish sparkle in their eyes. They are usually students interested in Japanese literature or Japanese, but for many of them, this is the first time in their life to meet a novelist. Therefore, they are very eager to know something very realistic about novelists. For instance, what kind of creature or writer, what kind of ideas he has, and what kind of life he's living. Some of them wish to write a novel themselves too. These novelist-oriented students are keenly interested to know how they can start writing a novel or become a novelist. Most typical questions asked by them are as follows.
What did you want to write in your university days? How did you publish your first novel? What do you think is the most essential for writing novels? From my standpoint as a private writer, I find it almost impossible to expand my case into the level of rural writers and teach them that novelists are such and such people, or this is the way to write a novel, or you can become a writer in this way. I also find it meaningless to suggest to them no here is some correct theory of becoming a novelist. So I show them my concrete example, saying that in my case I'm like this. Besides, they might prefer the quick, quickly, powerful, started examples with logical, abstract theory or concept. In this concrete and colorful way, wherever I went, I explained to the students how I became a novelist. And I happened to notice that it was nearly good luck itself that made me a writer. Sometimes I'm deeply impressed by the fact that I could become a writer.
When a student, I was certainly thinking of writing something. More specifically, I wanted to write film scenarios. Scenarios first, then novels, for I felt interested in films. That is why I chose to enter the film and drama course in Waseda University. But I gave up writing scenarios halfway, thinking it didn't fit me. I didn't have the slightest idea of what to write or how to write in those days. Neither any material nor any theme that I had to write about. Such a person could never start writing a script or anything else, which was a self-evident fact. But I like to read film scripts anyway, so I went to the drama museum on campus almost every day, if not attending classes, and devoured all the film scripts in the West and in the East for all ages. Looking back on my student days, I think this devouring helped me so much. Therefore, I think I could give a piece of advice to younger people, having the wish to write something, that you need not force yourself to write something when you cannot. I wonder if this might help them or not though. Then I graduated from Waseda, got married, and started working. No, it is the opposite. I married, started working, and then graduated from university. Driven by the severe everyday life, I totally forgot my wish to write something. To clear off my debts, I had to work from early in the morning till late at night like a whipped carriage horse, which sounds like a non-literary cliché though. I continued it for 7 years. As my bar served a stuffed cabbage, for instance, I had to cut a full bag of onions into tiny pieces every morning. Still, now I can manage to cut plenty of onions in a short time, even without shedding tears. My hands automatically and swiftly move as if they know how to do. Mac of nice thick onions without tears? I asked my students. No, they said. Finish them cutting before tears start dropping. A big laughter first. Ха, ха, ха. Надявам се текста да ви е харесал. И сега бих искал един малък диалог да проведеме, като аз ще започна да питам, има ли някой от 8-те класове, който пише нещо? Какво ти идея? Не, нищо. Изречения, думи пишете ли? Думи поне, букви. Не. Ти си нади. Давай, изказвай. Що така?
Виждам, че май на никой не ми се говори за така малко неща. Извинете! Там! Чувам ви!
Не. Така моята поколение, никой не пише. Аз утре, даже вчера, имах столетие. За втори път. Много малко.
Така ли?
Да, продължавай.
Добре, виждам, че на никой не му се говори за писане. Явно е това. Никой не дига ръка. Мисля, че ще има гора. Добре, разбирам, че...
Всякога всички да бе.
Добре, защо ме прекъсваш сега?
Е така, защото съм накаран.
Ама аз ти да се
Аз не.
Добре. Отличен опит мога да кажа, че не ме гледай.
Щом отличен опит може да кажа.
Добре, сега ще разкажа ли, че ме прекъсваш?
И имаме цял ден съм.
Не, водим направо, не сутрин. Стига толкова шеги. Виждам, че много хора не са писали и отлично мога да кажа, че сравнително късно започнах и аз да пиша. И сега изобщо не мога да спра. Обожавам да пиша най-вече истории и да, не мога да пиша стихотворения.
Аз мога.
На български?
На български мога.
Добре, там дига.
Което мотивира да пишеш?
Вие говорите прекалено много, може би двамата вече. Така е. Цяло да пишеш е сложен процес, така да го кажем, защото всеки може да пише, може да пише думи и изречения, но не винаги може да се получи нещо хубаво и нещо, което да се хареса на всички. Тоест, има някои неща, които понякога те вдъхновяват, като филми или песни. Но принципно истинската музика, така да го наречем, си идва отвътре. Просто хващаш листа, Микала, и започваш да пишеш. Аз ръчих първи клас.
Това е ирония.
Нали, аз съм най-важна.
Ели, обади си ти нещо. Знам. Айде.
Аз съм от хората, които знаят, че не могат да пишат и не пишат, въпреки че от време на време се вдъхновявам за нещо, но като това не погледна белия лист и се отказвам. Което е чудесно. Работа е на мен, да. Tako добре да аз съм от хората, които не пишат за своите преживявания, защото няма смисъл да пиша за нещо, което е минало, аз ги изживявам и намерикам.
Може да стоим и да гледаме в публиката, ако искаш.
Може, аз се харесвам някакво така.
Приятен ден.